Good morning. We're going to talk about forensic psychology and the career. So we're going to go ahead through here and define it a little bit. So essentially, for forensic psychology, it's the application of clinical specialties to the legal arena. So essentially, you're going to be involved in the psychological assessment of individuals who are involved in one way or another with the legal system. This could be working with victims of crimes, or potentially this could be working with people who are accused of committing those crimes. So just keeping that in mind. We have quite a few tasks that they might perform listed below. Go ahead and look at those on your own time. Those are really going to go hand in hand with the careers listed, so I'm not going to spend very much time on them. But essentially, as you can see, you're performing assessments in one way or another, and other procedures such as death notification, screening and selection, etc. So some basic education and training requirements. The American Psychological Association realizes that there are not a ton of programs that are specific to forensic psychology. So you might find a master's program that's a master's in forensic psychology or a doctorate program, but those are pretty far and few in between. And for the purposes of this slideshow, since we are all completing our undergraduate, we're actually going to cover just master's programs. Regardless, in order to become a forensic psychologist in the state of Oregon, you are required to get your doctorate. So these are the steps you would take. You would get your clinical psychology, or I guess you would start with your bachelor's degree in psychology, and then clinical psychology for your master's or for your doctorate. There's a couple different fields you could do. There's a little flexibility. You would also take your examination for professional practice in psychology in order to become licensed. And as I said, there's other things on there, but you can totally look at those on your own time and learn a little more. So the first school we're going to talk about is the University of West Alabama. They offer a master's in clinical mental health counseling. This school has you complete an application. They do have a couple of unique things to it, such as a professional goals essay, a requirement to have your employment and volunteer activities. Those are all good things to consider even now when you're completing your undergraduate, as they're kind of like bonus points or brownie points into getting into your master's program. So I also have a good to know section on here. So this tells you whether the classes are online or on campus, how many hours, and the cost per credit. So essentially for this program, it ends up being right around $429 a credit. It's a 2 to 3 year program. You can do it online as well. Our next school is California State University, Long Beach. They have a Master of Arts option in psychological research. Some unique things about this application are your GRE test scores. They do require a certain number, your transcripts, and their minimum GPA requirement, which is only 2.5. This is great. Most schools require 3.0. So if you need a little more flexibility with your GPA, this is an awesome option. This is a 2-year full-time program. We do have the full-time tuition cost per term. That's right around $3,500, which is really great. So keep that in mind, especially if you potentially have a lower GPA. That brings us to our third school, John Jay College of Criminal Justice, the Master of Arts in Forensic Psychology degree. So in order to be admitted, once again, you are going to need those GRE scores. You are going to need a 3.0 GPA, and they do have some undergraduate coursework that they require you to have. If you're interested in taking courses online, the school is located in New York, and you're going to want to make sure you have these sections previously taken while at EOU, so you don't have to go back and take extra classes. Once again, we have our good to know section, and a reminder that while you can get a master's in forensic psychology in the state of Oregon, in order to be a forensic psychologist, you would be required to get your doctorate degree. This is the highest cost of tuition so far at $620 per credit hour. Whew. This is our good to know section. Really, this is just for your information. A lot of people are going to look at doing a PsyD if you're interested in actually practicing, but certainly a PhD is great and is always helpful. One nice thing about the PsyD programs is they can be less competitive. And once again, just a reminder, because I really like to hit it on the nose, you can work in the field with your master's degree and many job opportunities are open to you, But if you actually want to be a forensic psychologist, you do need to get your doctorate in order to be licensed. Okay, average debt considerations if you pursue a doctorate. So this is about to get scary. Don't be freaked out. In clinical psychology, that number is right around $80,000 on average. That's okay though, because there's something out there called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness. As we've talked about before, federal, state, local, or tribal government organizations, which might be kind of similar to what you're looking into for forensic psychology or a nonprofit. If you enroll in a income-driven repayment program and you make those payments for 10 years while you're working at one of these agencies, then they actually completely forgive your debt. So it's not like you're going to have debt forever. Don't worry. It's not so bad. Okay, this brings me to my favorite part. We are going to actually talk about an expert's opinion. So he gave us some advice. I spoke to Dr. Robert Shug about this. About what advice would he give those of us who are looking at entering the field. So he had some really great words of wisdom for us. Why do you want to go into the field? Is that motivation going to carry you through a master's degree, through a doctorate? Is this something that you're trying to emulate that you've seen on TV and you think it might be one way? He did advise that people who work as criminal profilers, that's a pretty rare field. And if you do, you would be working with the FBI in general. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's degree, there's licensure, there's continuing education, because once you are licensed every 2 years, you have to re-up that license. And he also recommended think about the specific jobs that you're interested in, as well as if you can be objective. So sometimes you're working with people who've been accused of terrible crimes. Depending on whether you choose to work from like a prosecution or a criminal defense. And can you stay objective? That's something that's really important, I think, in any degree or career within the psychology field, but it's always good to think about that again. What it comes down to is translating your real life interest, wherever that interest comes from, into goals and motivation to complete these degree plans in order to go into that type of career. So jobs in the field, as I talked about in an earlier slide, many of these are going to be within government, academia, prisons, etc., and psychiatric facilities. A forensic psychologist and a jury litigation consultant, an expert witness, those are all primarily for people who have their doctorates, although for a jury or litigation consultant, you may get away with just having a master's degree. Although a bachelor's degree in the field is not going to be sufficient for anybody. You can't really do much with that. These other fields, probation officer, correctional officer, youth correctional counselor, etc., those are, as you can see, pay a little less, but that's corresponding to the fact that you would only have to get a master's degree. So just keep that in mind. That brings us to our references. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to move me a little so you guys can check it out. This is the first page. Feel free to take a picture of this and save it and email me if you have any questions. I'm taking you to our second page of references now. This is just kind of more information about where I learned all this information and how you could actually check on it yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. I appreciate everybody coming and listening today. And if you want more information, feel free to call me or message me. Thank you guys so much and have a great day.